All right, so this is my market outlook this week going on. Again, this is how I trade. Now, one thing I want to preface with these little outlook sessions is this is just through my eyes, and I don't want anybody to ever think that how I view the charts and how I view the markets is the way to view them or this is the best way. This is just how I do it, and if other people, because again, trading is very personal, but I'm sure a lot of people still do view the markets how I do, how the pack trade group views the markets, and how we look at it in terms of liquidity levels, major context points on a higher time frame. And if that's something that kind of goes with your trading plan, then this may be useful for you. But if this does go against, a way of trading that doesn't correlate with how you view the markets, that's totally fine too. Whatever helps you become profitable at the end of the day and whatever keeps you successful. So this is kind of how I'm seeing things. Now, NASDAQ, I'm going a little bit more into detail, as you're going to notice here as we go through this. Now, US30, it's going to be a little less because, one, market structure is the same. Like, let's be honest, like US30 and NAS on the higher time frames, they definitely move very similar. But NASDAQ is showing some pretty interesting things in terms of what I'm seeing versus US30 still has a few things to work out. So if we take a look at NASDAQ here, we're on the 4-hour time frame, as you can see. I got a few different scenarios that I'm seeing because we are starting to get, we're just ripping bullish, right? We've started this uptrend ever since the end of October, early November, pretty much the entire month. We have just been ripping bullish. And you guys always know, what do I say? Like every single time we have these major bullish uptrends, there's going to be some cooling off, right? I was saying this when we were in that major uptrend for the summer. When we were in this huge, let me zoom in a little bit. When we were in this huge uptrend, I was saying at some point we are due for a cool off. Even if that's just to make healthy bullish market structure on like the daily and on the weekly, it's still, we need to make some lows so that way we can then continue upwards if we want to continue this overall bullish momentum. We then started correcting at mid to the end of July, and now we are seeing a potential continuation on even if you just zoom out, right? You can see we were super bullish, little correction for just the cooling off, and then a continuation, right? So if we zoom in here now with that context that I just said, you can see here, these are some of the little markings that I left from a couple of the previous weekly outlooks. If you want to see those and just see how they correlated with what I said with the markets, please go and check my work. But this is pretty much, I was exactly saying this the previous weekly outlook video, and then the week before. It all worked out, right? Because again, knowing where these major areas of liquidity and major context areas are so important, because that's where a lot of the major players are taking this liquidity and either selling off, or if we break above this major area of liquidity, we're going to keep on going higher. That's just how it works. It's supply and demand. It's very simple. You don't have to have, especially when you're doing these weekly outlooks, you don't have to have indicators and all this craziness. You can literally just use price action and market structure and see where there's going to be a lot of drama being played here. You can see when price comes up here, there's probably going to be some drama, right? It's not just going to easily melt through here. Could it? Sure. But we like to operate on the sides of high probabilities when it comes to trading, and we do see here there's, in fact, a high probability of if we get to this area, there's going to be some drama. So now if you go and take a look at what I potentially can see the market being this coming week and what I see with some local context points, we have 3 different scenarios that I see could potentially happen to either show us that we're now going to be in a sign of correction, maybe in a little bit of consolidation, or a continuation where we're just going to keep on ripping bullish, right? So we have this major key level here that we can see that as soon as price came up to this level on, what was this? 19th of July, when we came all the way up here, we instantly started selling off. So this is a very key level. This huge wick that was created here told us that there is a ton of sell pressure here. So what do we use with that information? Well, if we know that we grab this liquidity like we had here, go back and look at the weekly outlooks to see what I mean by that. We broke back down, retested it, broke through, tested it again for support this time. And trading 101, right? When resistance turns to support, that's bullish, and then vice versa. We have now turned that into support. We now, as you see here, I labeled this the first bounce / the higher low. If you look at market structure, what are we seeing? We are seeing a higher low and higher highs being formed. So if this, in fact, is now a higher low and it's the first bounce of just the continuation of testing this overall resistance, what I see going forward is if we want to respect this and if we want to keep on moving in the similar direction with the trend, we just maybe we could come back down here just a little bit, very short-term bearish momentum, just to test this for a support again, and then we move into the next major area of context, which is all the way back here. And this was January of 2022. So this was almost 2 years ago now. So this is a major bearish order block. Okay, you can see here I got these labeled for you guys so you can see them. So major bearish order block that when price came here, we just have dumped. We haven't touched it since. And again, is this some magic that it magically creates a rectangle, and when these rectangles are on the charts, they just, you know, perfectly react? No, there's methods to the madness. And if you want to visually just roughly see, again, I don't know where exactly these orders are. No one does except for Nancy Pelosi. But if we could just imagine what this giant order block is, just imagine it like there's just a bunch of major sized orders here because it hasn't been touched. And if you were somebody with a lot of money and you want to see where most likely you can make money when it comes to a specific area on the chart, you can see here. This is a major level that has not been touched yet, right? So we can just have a high probable guess, because that's all trading is, high probable guesses, a high probable guess that once price comes back up to this level, there's going to be all these orders on the books to just take this liquidity and break it back down, right? It doesn't mean that we're going to be bearish now and we're just going to keep on going to the downside, but there's probably going to be some reaction. But this is the next major level of context or motivation for price to come and test. So now with that context, let's now look back right to where recent price action is. And that's why I have this arrow here showing that we could potentially break back down just a little bit, not much, or we could just go and launch to this, right? Because we've already had this bounce. But if we want to bounce it again, maybe 1 or 2 more times just to test this level and see how, in fact, good the support is, we can now push up to the upside where this is their next little pit stop. Again, is it going to be a straight line? Absolutely not. The market moves in ABCD patterns, right? So we can make multiple ABCDs to get to this level. But this is, in fact, where I think if we want to continue this bullish trend, where we could be on the NASDAQ. Now, if we break this, my 2 little downside scenarios is if we do get back down to this support, we could probably chop around for a little bit, because what does market structure trend shift do, right? You have 3 major trends. You have an uptrend where you're just making higher highs and higher lows. Then what happens when this trend starts to get exhausted? You start to make equal highs and equal lows because now the trend is starting to be disrupted. And then the next trend goes where one of these levels break, either the resistance breaks and then we keep on going higher, or the support breaks. We in fact get a lower low locked in and then a lower high gets locked in. Now you start to move to the downside and you have lower lows and lower highs being formed. So if in fact this gets created where this support comes all the way back down and gets tested, we can most likely be in a scenario like this, okay, where we are now potentially going to chop around for a bit and let the market decide, okay, are we going to keep on going high or are we going to cool off for a bit? And if we cool off for a bit, my bearish confirmation is if we come all the way down to this major key level where we've tested it multiple times. I can drag this out and you can even see, I mean, look at this. This is a major point of drama, right? This was a resistance, came up, turned it to support. I mean, this is a really good key level to just keep on your radar. And for me, if we break this key level with all this this choppiness and then this major support here, and we close below here inside of this circle, then that would be confirmation for me. Okay, we're probably going to turn bearish for a little bit, which is this scenario here, where now we're just going to be making lower lows and lower highs. Or again, if we close here, we're just going to be in this little scenario where we're just going to keep on making higher highs and break that resistance level. So with that little context, this is what I'm seeing on NASDAQ, guys. Nothing really sexy. We're just breaking back down to the downside and using this as a support to then come back up here if we want to continue bullish. If we want to chop, we need to close below here to tell us we're most likely just going to be chopping for the week. If we want to break all the way back down to here and close below here, that is confirmation for me to say, okay, we're most likely going to be bearish for the week. Moving on to US30, as you notice, like I said, it's going to be way less annotations here because US30 is still just a little little more difficult for me to see where most likely we're going to head with context, because we're kind of in a context area right now. If you take a look left on where recent price action is, and for those of you that are new, this dotted line right here shows us where price recently was before the markets closed last week. You can see we're kind of struggling in this bearish order block. As you can see here, I got it annotated. We have a bearish order block that we have reacted to. I mean, look at this. Price in this 1 4-hour candle on the 10th of August came all the way up here, tried breaking through, tried piercing it, and just crashed all the way back down. Tried it multiple times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I mean, 10 times. Price tried to break through this bearish order block, and it just failed every single time. And now we're just breaking back. We were breaking down to the downside. So now look what price is doing. Okay, history doesn't repeat itself, but it often rhymes in similar forms of market structure when it comes to trading. And you can see right here, we tested it. We're creeping back up here, testing it again, creeping back up here. So if we want to continue this bullish continuation for US30, I see we have to break this level. And if we break this level and close anywhere here where this circle is, closing above this major resistance, then we have clean price action to tell me that we're most likely going to make higher highs, higher lows, all the way up to this major liquidity area that I actually have kept on my chart. This has been on my chart since my weekly outlooks first started here, doing these on a weekly basis for, I think this is 3 weeks now. You can see here, this liquidity was only tested a couple times, but it's still a major level that swung the market in another direction. So this is something where, in my best guess, if price breaks this level, we're now apt to come up here and retest here. But if we fail this level, I mean, again, we could come back down here and retest this major support here. We could come down here to test this consolidation. I mean, there's multiple points. Anybody here, you don't have to be a genius trader to see that price can touch. But I think if US30 loves to move with NASDAQ and vice versa, then if any of these major key levels on any of these assets get cleared, then we can just continue bullish. But again, if we come back down here, same thing for US30, right? If we come back down here and mess with this, we could chop, just like US30. If we come down here, we could chop. If we break this, we could go bearish, just like how I have here with NASDAQ. I just didn't really want to bother annotating that because, you know, US30 is kind of in this decision area. So it's kind of just like, hey, you play the roulette wheel and you may get lucky or you may not, versus here, there's a clear direction with kind of an edge to show you that, okay, we have very clear direction on where we're most likely heading next. So that was my weekly outlook. I try keeping these about 15 to 20 minutes. It looks like I just hit about 13 minutes exactly on my weekly outlook. That's what I see this week. I hope these are helpful for you guys. I hope you're finding value in them. And if you are, let me know. For the people listening to this live, let me know in the pack chat if you guys do enjoy these. If you have any questions, I will happily answer them. If you're watching this on my YouTube channel, let me know in the comments if you find this valuable and what assets you like to look at. So that is my weekly outlook for November 26th.